Hello, and thank you so much for all of you joining in today on Awaken and Ascend. Today, we're going to be exploring the gateway to authenticity through midlife with Swati Kameswar, who's joining us today from Austin, Texas. She is an amazing artist and writer and coach that supports women in finding their authentic voice. Once she was actually an engineer, believe it or not, who turned into a visionary coach. And really, what she wants to do nowadays is help women, especially in midlife, find their authentic voice so that they can proceed and enter into their next chapter with sacred, joyful expression. Swati, such a joy to have you here to express yourself and your messages. And I'm excited to learn how you became from being an engineer into a visionary coach. So, welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I love being able to host this show. Jennifer Regular, also the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path. But I bring in these amazing people from all around the world, spiritual change makers, wellness advocates, healing practitioners, all to share about their journey, their insights, what they learned along the way, and how they're inspiring and empowering others to step into their calling as well, which just sounds like a little bit about what happened when you moved from being an engineer into a visionary coach. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. I've been in the engineering field for about 20 years, and I had reached a point where I had experienced a lot of success. I had also enjoyed my job for the longest time, but I was reaching a point of disillusionment. And it was towards my late 30s when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the beginning of midlife, what is known as midlife crisis. And,
Mm-hmm.
it was maybe not a full blown midlife crisis, but there was definitely a sense of, I've reached the end of this path. I don't know what is next.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what to do. And at the time, I started to explore different avenues. And I found out about astrology. That was so before I became a coach, I actually got interested in astrology, and I found out that I was going through midlife planetary transits, which are basically the underlying reason for midlife crisis. So
Mm-hmm.
that blew my mind because it really matched my experience, what I was feeling, the disillusionment, the sadness, the emotional stuff, the need for internal change, really wanting to change something but not knowing what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I started to study astrology. I started to study my own natal chart because I realized that I was going through a very key planetary transit, and they were coming in quick succession. So that's what happens with the midlife planetary transits. At 39, 40, in our early 40s, we go through all these transits of Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, Uranus, Saturn, and each one of them has a different theme, and
Mm-hmm.
each one is awakening a different energy. And so that's how the transformation and change happened. I started to uh, I went through a lot of change, but I also learned many new things. And that's how I found my way out of the disillusionment into life purpose, into the next level of my expression. And that's what I realized, the disillusionment was coming from the fact that I was not feeling authentic at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these things were helping me to find my authenticity.
Yes, absolutely. I find that when we're conforming, for example, just living out of obligation or fear or guilt or society's expectations, cultural expectations, parental expectations, when we
Yeah.
conform, then we actually perform, right? We're just trying to seek that
Yeah.
approval or live up to
Yeah.
that. And so
Yeah.
I usually equate conform with perform because that's what ends up happening where we're not fully ourselves. We may
Yeah.
be expressing a little bit, a tiny aspect of who we are through those roles. However,
Yes.
not fully being ourselves or through true authentic expression.
Yes.
And hence the confusion, right? When we get to certain
Right.
points in our life, we're like, okay, I'm not who I was before. I'm not who everyone thought I was. Who am I really? There's all that self-doubt and that confusion
Yes.
that arises. When we have something to guide us, like the cosmos, like astrology, or like human design, or whatever it might be, a spiritual guide perhaps, or some way of learning to understand and learn more about ourselves and different aspects of who we are, and integrate all of the parts of ourselves to come into
Right.
that wholeness, right? To really be a full expression of who we are. And usually
Yeah.
for me, it's about aligning and activating someone's true passion, right?
Mm.
Because that passion,
Yes.
when I was going through a lot of turmoil, I had this download, this awakening moment of what passion actually meant. Because when you
Yes.
break up the word, it's pass I on. That I being your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this
That's beautiful.
lifetime. Yeah. And then when we see it that way, right, through a different lens, through a different
Yes.
perspective, then it opens up a whole new way of seeing and believing.
Yeah.
Like kind of like astrology did for you. It woke you up to different aspects of your life, different transitions,
Yes.
change that allowed for different parts of you to be realized. And
Yes.
so tell us a little bit more about those transitions. You mentioned a few different planets. So do they
Yes.
all have their own influences, I imagine then?
Absolutely. And so, just to uh, put this into perspective, we have a natal chart, which is basically a representation of the planets in the sky at the moment that we were born. So that is why,
Okay.
the date of birth, time and place of birth, it represents where the planets were in the sky at that time. So that's your natal chart. And that seems like a static thing, right? Because it's what happened in the past. It's at the moment that you were born. That is a static aspect of the chart. And then we have the dynamic aspect where, as you go through your life, planets in the sky will keep changing position. And then when a planet in the sky aligns with a planet in your natal chart, that's what I call a dynamic aspect. So that is something that is changing. So you have the static aspect, which is your natal position of planets, which doesn't change, but it
Okay.
represents who you were in the past lives, what resources you have in your current life, and it even represents the soul's intent for your life. So the static aspect gives you so much of information about past, present, future, and that can guide you to what to what your authentic voice is. And that authentic voice also changes over time, because what was true at one point will change, and that change happens because of those dynamic aspects. So when a
Mm.
planet in the sky coincides with something in your chart, it is now turning the page to a new chapter. It is awakening a new energy for you. And that's what
Mm.
happened for me. Like, engineering was a very conscious choice I made at the time when I went in for it. The job that I did for 20 years, a very conscious choice. But then that chapter was coming to an end, right? And soul is always expanding, moving on, moving beyond the current to a greater level of expansion. And these transits, or what I call as sacred timings, these midlife planetary transits, or any transits that you go through in your life, we go through transits even during childhood and throughout our life, really. But the midlife planetary transits, I find that they come at a point where we already have kind of come to a place of some sort of an achievement in life. And now it's time to change it into deeper authenticity, the real purpose. Like you said, we may have been conforming till that point, or we may have done something we like, but now it's time to change and really fine tune our focus for the life. So these energies, like for example, I was going through Pluto transits, and what that means is that the position of Pluto in the sky was coinciding with a couple of planets in my natal chart. And so that was really waking up a new energy. And Pluto brings the energy of death and rebirth,
Mm.
transformation. That means
Mm-hmm.
an old self is dying and a new self is being born. And that is why we experience that need for change and need for transformation, and then the need to close old chapters, karmic closings, and karmic endings, all of that. Um, so it can be a challenging time, but it then propels us. If you're aware of it, it propels us into the next phase.
Mm. And let's talk a little bit about the challenging times. It can be
Yeah,
difficult, it can be tumultuous, it can be really scary for a lot of people.
absolutely. Yes,
And it
yes.
really depends on our approach too, right? And our
Yeah,
mindset, of course, at the time and all the circumstances that are going on in our life. Because for some, it would be a lot of fear that might come up, that might arise.
yes,
For others, it
yes.
might be curiosity, expectation,
Yeah,
and wonderment. And
yes,
so that would also change the trajectory of where we go in our
Absolutely.
lives, right? Like, how do
Absolutely.
we address those challenges in the best way? How can we embrace the change, gather the courage to change, and not be afraid of losing ourselves,
Yes.
which it could feel like, because
Yeah.
essentially that's what's happening in a sense, right?
Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I love that you said fear, because Pluto is all about changing fear into empowerment.
Uh-huh.
And fear is something that, and so when we go through Pluto transits, whether you're going through the Pluto square during your midlife, or Pluto, like in my case, I was going through the Pluto square, but I was also having Pluto on top of my Mercury and Mars. So that really amplified the energy of transformation and the need to
Yeah.
face fears and transform those fears into empowerment. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, even my career change, moving from something that I had done all my life and thought as my identity, it was scary to even think of letting that go and move into something completely new. And that was the fear that I moved through. So one of the things that I found, one is that having an awareness of what you're going through, like what sacred timings are you going through, what kind of energy is it bringing up, and what is the gift of it? Because it's not just the challenges. The challenges are just the first part of it. But as you work through the challenges, you then receive the gift of it, which in Pluto's case is empowerment. So it is just that awareness really can supercharge your commitment to going through the process. So if you're
Yes.
aware that this journey is, what the nature of the journey is going to be, it really strengthens your commitment. And that's what happened with me. I was very fortunate to know early on that, oh, I'm going through this, I'm feeling all this disillusionment, and now I learned that I'm going through this transit, and this is what
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be. And I also knew, like, for example, Pluto transits last quite a long time, 2 3 years, and because I had multiple planets together, for me the total effect of it was almost 6 years. So I knew that,
Wow.
oh my goodness, this is going to last a long time. I better take it seriously. I can't hide.
Lean
I can't
into
hide
it.
behind it, right? Yes, lean into
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and just so I leaned into it, and that made all the difference. Oh
Mm.
my goodness, it made all the difference. It really gave me the courage to move through some fears that I'd had all my life, and move through a lot of different things I would not have been able to move through had I not known that this timing is giving me the opportunity to close old karmic patterns of fear and move into a new expression. So that awareness helps a lot.
Yes, yes. And it's part of our
Yeah.
personal evolution, isn't it? And what I
Yes.
hear from
Yeah.
you really is transforming fear into freedom.
Freedom, that is it, because
Yes,
it's
freedom.
empowerment, but it's
Yeah,
really freedom because you're no longer
right.
tied. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
being yourself, and
Yes.
how freeing that is, and being open
Yes.
to new possibilities. Because a lot of us that may be stuck in careers or relationships that aren't fully serving us, we're just kind of tolerating or have settled for because it's just the way it
Tolerating
is,
is the word.
right? It's
Yes.
more habitual than anything else, more
Yeah.
out of habit, right?
Yeah.
And it could feel very constricted or limiting
Yes.
in some way when we can embrace
Yeah.
these new opportunities, which, you know, a lot of challenges are presently opportunities that are available, and the gifts that come in through that, the freedom, the liberation that can come from that is extraordinary. And
Yeah.
transformation, because I love playing on words, if we look at that transformation, it's really transcending form, right? Moving
Yes.
beyond
Yes.
who you were before, moving beyond the
Yeah.
circumstances that existed before. And that moving beyond is awakening and ascending. It's personal evolution. And it helps us
Absolutely.
all, if we're doing that, evolve as a planet, as a human
Yes.
species as well. And as we start talking about this more, Swati, don't you find that we're embracing more and more our common humanity, and our diversity and our
Yes.
varied experiences, and realizing underneath it all that we're all kind of having the same experience too,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. We are,
And we have the
we're kind of,
cosmos to thank for that, because that's the
yes.
universal influence that we're all experiencing.
Right. Yep. We are unique in our own way, but then there are underlying principles that unite us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you think is the most important message that you want to get out to people now? What do you really want them to know?
I think one thing that I stand for is that these sacred timings that we go through, they
Mhm.
are really, whether it is Pluto, Uranus, Saturn, whatever it is. It's really helping us. First of all, they're parts of us. You know, for example, Pluto is empowerment. It's really a part of you. It's that energy. It's we view it as something external because it's an external object, but it's really that energy is part of us. So all of these different sacred timings, they are helping us to awaken different parts of us so that we feel whole.
Yeah.
And we are, through that wholeness, we're able to express our authentic, unique gifts. And one really important thing about the midlife transits is that a lot of our unique gifts don't even come online till midlife, till we go through some of those transits during midlife. One of the most important things is managing your life force energy. Because as you do that, and by life force energy, I mean your thoughts and emotions and actions, as we purify those aspects within us, we really open up the space for those unique gifts to come through and to receive the gift of the transit rather than get stuck behind the challenges.
Ah. Oh, I love that. So well articulated. And it provides some trust in the process, right? Some
Yes.
faith that all is in divine timing. And I love that you called it sacred timings as well, because the sacredness is honoring. And the sacredness is reverence. The sacredness is understanding the higher purpose.
Yes.
And really seeing crisis as an awakening time.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
that
so
summarizes it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And sort of speaking it so clearly, you can really get that and understand that and at a deeper level. And so how is it that you help people in your work? And then also share with us how we can connect with you for your work.
Okay. So one of the things I specialize in is helping people understand the sacred timings that they are going through and what superpowers are being awakened in them as a result of it. What, that add to their authentic voice. So I have private sessions called a private session called Sacred Timings and Superpowers, which is basically a very comprehensive astrology chart reading where we will go through the key transits that are awakening you right now and what is the purpose of the transits and some practices that you can do that can help you to actualize the gift. And I'll also share with you all the key dates, because some of these transits will last for several years. So I share with you some key dates for you to keep in mind because that awareness can really help you to go through the challenges that come up. And it can help you to cross that bridge into the gift, like from the challenge into the gift. So the private session is one. I have workshops that 3 hours to 1 day workshops where we dive deeper into some of these energies, and the theme of the workshop will vary from month to month. And I also have an e-course coming out called Sacred Timings, Awakening the Gateways to Authenticity, where you can actually work specifically with each one of these different timings to understand the energy and practice those, perform the sacred practices to help you embody the gift. So all of this information can be found on my website at activateyourtruthandpower.com.
Beautiful.
And I have a free gift called the 12 Paths to Impeccable Personal Power. It's a 45-page ebook that it goes into pretty much a lot of detail about those 12 parts and what are the 12 parts that you can follow. These follow the different zodiac signs, the zodiac archetypes, so it goes deeper into every archetype. You can work with these with this ebook throughout the year. You can work with it at the new moon, full moon time, when the sun is in that time, when a particular transit is activating your chart, or if you have no idea about astrology, forget astrology, just follow the journaling prompts and the teachings in the book, and that itself will be enough. So it comes with journaling prompts as well as a creative exercise at the end, and I walk you through that in a video of how to activate those 12 parts for yourself. So that's a free gift on my website. You can get it at activateyourtruthandpower.com/gifts.
Wow, that sounds so amazing. I'll be signing up for that. Very cool. We'll definitely have the links to connect with you, your website, and those gifts down in the show notes below. And of course, you'll find my information and gifts there as well for a guide to living your passion and purpose. Like we get to do, and so many of us get to do if we just say yes, if we just open up to that change and embrace the possibilities. And and notice, what else is possible? How can it get any better than this, right? To
Yes,
really
yeah.
live in that positive expectation. Swati, I loved everything that you shared today. It was really amazing, really enlightening. And I wonder if there is anything else that you'd like to share while you're here with us.
I just wanted to add to what you just said. There is more. There is
There's
more.
more.
There is so much aliveness and authenticity and passion and joy waiting at the end of, on the other side of these sacred timings. And it's totally worth it to say yes and walk that path with courage and expectation.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you to each and every one of you that have been tuning in to Awaken and Ascend. We're here every week, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Pacific. So we'll see you again next time. Bye for
Thank you.
now. Thank
Bye.
you.